You ever do something you just don't want to do? Today my daughter didn't want to eat lunch, but she did want a popsicle. What a dilemma. I told her if she would just eat her lunch, she could have a popsicle. And she didn't want to eat lunch, and she didn't get a popsicle. That didn't make her too happy. Eventually, however, I was able to convince her to eat lunch. You'll never guess what she got later. That's right. She got her popsicle. She couldn't have been happier, and it was so nice. And I said, look, all you have to do, eat your lunch. You can have a popsicle. She'll learn. She's only 2. She'll learn, though. However, some of us are older than 2, older than 10, we're older than 20, we're older than 30. Some of us are actually even older than 40, and we still don't get this concept that we have to do things sometimes that we just don't want to do. We have to submit ourselves to somebody else's authority. What a concept. This is something that Peter's going to talk about today as we continue on in our 5-minute messages through 1 Peter. We're still in chapter 2. We're going to be looking at verses 13 through 15 today in chapter 2. It's going to go a little something like this. Therefore, submit yourselves to every ordinance of man for the Lord's sake, whether to the king as supreme or to governors, as to those who are sent by him for the punishment of evildoers and for the praise of those who do good. For this is the will of God, that by doing good you may put to silence the ignorance of foolish men. Peter's bringing up this concept of submission. This is a concept that many of us don't like. We don't understand it. We don't want it. We're not interested in it. It gives us bad vibes. It's just a yucky word. When in fact, this is actually a great word. But what does it mean? To submit yourself is to voluntarily place yourself under another's authority. And in fact, we do this all the time. When you're at work and the boss says, I need you to run this report, and you go run that report, you submitted to his authority. Maybe you're, at a traffic stop because you were speeding and the police officer pulls you over. I need to see license and registration. And you give it to them. You're submitting to their authority. We do this all the time. You're in school. Teacher says, hand in your assignment, do this, read that, and you hand in that assignment, you read this or you do that. You've submitted yourself to their authority. We do this all the time. We just don't like that word for some reason. But it's a very healthy thing. And sometimes we have to get ourselves to the point where we are willing to place ourselves under the authority of somebody else. And the Bible says that we're supposed to submit ourselves to every ordinance of man for the Lord's sake. Can you do that? Have you done that? Sometimes we get real worked out of shape when we think about those sorts of things, but it's important. Whether to the king as supreme, maybe in our instance, the president, to governors, even lesser authorities, but nevertheless still authorities in our life, as to those who are sent by him for the punishment of evildoers. This is the purpose of government, by the way. Just as an addendum here, this is what the government is supposed to be doing. I'm not sure they do it all the time, but this is what they're supposed to be doing. And you're supposed to be submitting yourself to these people so that they can punish evildoers. In other words, don't be an evildoer yourself and you don't have to worry about it. For the praise of those who do good. You know, when you're doing good things and you're a law-abiding citizen and you see an evildoer being punished, we're generally very happy about that. My wife and I love these crime shows, and when somebody goes to jail for doing some heinous crime, we're like, all right, system worked. That's fantastic. For this is the will of God. You know, the Bible doesn't always talk about the will of God, does it? It doesn't always just come right out and say, this is the will of God. But here's an instance where it says, this is the will of God, that by doing good you may put to silence the ignorance of foolish men. You want to put people in their place? You know, they may talk badly about you or try to put you down, but when you're doing good and you're submitting yourself in godly ways, these people run out of bad things to say about you, and you put them to silence by your good works, and you're able to glorify God in heaven. And this can help pass the day.